The Retroid Pocket 5 and the Nintendo Switch Lite are two similar looking consoles, but they're also very different in a number of ways. Maybe you're debating which one you should buy. Well, that depends on what you're after, what you want to get out of the experience, because although similar in appearance, they are realistically very different in their nature. The Switch Lite is simple, polished, finished, for better use of a term. You can pick it up and play. The Retroid Pocket 5, an Android device, it's not as simple as that. Some tinkering is required, and dependent on your experience level, you might find that a little bit tricky. I certainly did. But which one is more fun to use? Should you buy both? Should you buy neither? Hopefully by the end of this video, you might have an idea of what that means representing to your situation. Stay tuned to find out. So let's start with the fact that this is a retro gaming channel. I am Stu, by the way, the Yorkshire Retro Gamer. Give me a like and a follow if you like. Share it. I'll get past all that now. Why do you want a device like this? I've covered this in previous videos. Is it to play mainstream, AAA games? Or is it to play games from the past? Retro games. I'm talking Atari 2600. I'm talking SNES. I'm talking Dreamcast. I'm talking PS1. And most important of all, I'm talking PS2. In this video, we will not be talking about Switch emulation, partly because I don't want Nintendo to throw a hissy fit, but also I've tried and I just can't understand where to get these ROMs from. And I'm not asking for tips. And I won't be giving tips out about getting ROMs. I can't get it to work, and I'm scared of Nintendo. I can admit that, I'm a big boy. The first thing I want to do is look at some specs. This is the boring stuff. I'm putting chapters in this video, so if you want to skip ahead, feel free. This bit is the bit I care about the least, but there will be some watching who want to know what the specs are without having to go on each of the respective websites. I'm going to start with how much each of them weighs, because I feel sometimes if you hold a device and it's heavier, it feels more premium, versus lighter feels cheaper, the plastic feels not as expensive, even if the price of each device is in the similar price range. So we'll move down to my top-down phone camera. This is my coffee weighing scale. I call myself a coffee snob, minus the S. Make of that what you will. It gives you a more accurate weight in point grams. You'll see. So I'm going to turn it on, and I'm using this. This is a hot chocolate dispenser for cappuccinos. I really am a coffee snob, minus the S. I'm putting that on there purely because of the awkwardness of the shape of these. You'll see the Retroid Pocket 5 has nubs on it, and yes, you could put this on the weighing scale, but I just want a more accurate representation of what they weigh. The Switch Lite is the same with these little nubs here. So if you put something like this on top of it before you tar it, is that the right term? Then put the device on that, it'll give a more even distribution of the weight. So we'll start with the Retroid Pocket 5. I'll try not to cover up the actual weight of it. 288.5 grams. We must remember that. 288.5. We'll then come in with the Switch, which in the hand feels heavier. So I'm going to claim that it's heavier. 290.7. 288.5, 290.7. So just under 2 grams heavier is the Switch Lite. That shocked me. The next thing to do is to look at the screen dimensions. Each of the websites claim this is 5.5 inches. So I've got my tape measure out. 5.5 inches for the Switch Lite, 5.5 inches for the Retroid Pocket 5. Both of those are accurate. The Switch Lite is a 720p LCD screen, and the Retroid Pocket 5 is a 1080p AMOLED screen. So this is a significantly better screen, apparently. I don't really know what the intricacies of those two things are. I know what they mean, roughly, but this one is meant to look better. To the untrained eye, to the casual, such as myself, unless you're running the same game side to side, you're probably not going to tell the difference. So if you're buying that on the fact that that's got a better screen spec-wise, yes, do it. But I can't notice the difference. I'm pretty blind though. Now that we come back to the feel. Now the Nintendo Switch Lite, I don't know if this is a placebo, but it feels more premium. After having just weighed them and it's only 2 grams heavier, maybe that is a placebo after all. But the feel in the hand, out of the box, for me, it's not ideal. I say that because it's completely flat on the back. There's no ergonomic help here. You've got the nubs for the triggers, and they feel decent. It's not too loud in the old button department. And the joystick, importantly, is on top on the left-hand side. On the Retroid Pocket, slight bit of ergonomic help for holding it in the hand here. And it is, what's the word? It's not smooth. It's rugged. I don't know, I can't remember the term. But it feels easier to hold. However, the big caveat to that is that your L joystick is on the bottom. Now, someone did comment saying that, what you on about? The bottom joystick for the PlayStation has always been there, forever. Here's the thing though. This is a PS3 controller, DualShock 3. You'll notice, compared to the Retroid Pocket, that the left joystick is more central. It's in more, rather than directly underneath the D-pad. So if you were playing that like this, it would feel more similar to the Retroid Pocket 5, but because of the clever placement, your thumb is elongated, so it's not cramped. You're not going to get the hand cramps. On this one, you're down here. See how my thumb's bent? That's the difference. And it's the same with the DualShock 4. It's in, and it is comfy. Not as comfy as an Xbox Series X, personally, which has the joystick up here. But even the D-pad on that is more central. So it just makes sense. Ergonomically, the Retroid Pocket 5 does suffer from that. And as you can probably see as well, I've talked about this before, but the screen protector, massive air bubble there that just won't disappear. And on that side, because the whole front panel is glass, it's not on here. I do have a screen protector on. There's zero bubbles. This isn't glass. It's just easier to put on. But what I also got, if you're talking about back protectors, ergonomic help, as I call it, I got the back protector from Retroid Pocket 5, which I hate. $12 this war. Might as well have thrown it down the toilet. This goes on the back, and to be honest, apart from making it smoother, getting rid of the grip, which is, if anything, a benefit, it makes no difference. It doesn't bulk it out. It doesn't help with the cramping. Versus this thing, which I got off Amazon, it gives you these ergonomic bumps here, and it's a really tight, snug fit. It's that tight I can't get it on. There you are. The feel of that, not only from a weight perspective, but holding it with your hands like that, it's really perfect. Now, the sticks on these are not Hall effect. On these, I believe they are. Now, Hall effect is a bit of a buzzword at the moment, something to do with magnets, and it's supposed to, in theory, help prevent, not fully prevent, but help prevent stick drift, which these, not being Hall effect, probably suffer from. Now, if you feel the difference between the two, this one's got more of a bump, the opposite of an indentation, whereas this is indented. This feels more comfortable on the Retroid Pocket 5. From a stick perspective, can't really tell that it's any higher. Doesn't look like it, but it certainly feels better with the indentation, and it being a Hall effect. It clearly must help, because everyone's getting Hall effect sticks at the minute, so I do prefer the joystick on here, but the placement of it is such an annoyance. It's such an annoyance, and it's a real shame that they put it there. But I have bought a grip for this on Amazon. It's not come yet. I'll do a review of that when it does come. Hopefully that improves it, because trying to play God of War on this is nigh on impossible for more than 10 minutes. Versus, say, playing, I don't know, Mario Kart on this, the Switch Lite, easy, comfortable. Now, apart from that, there's not too much I want to go over spec-wise. They both look gorgeous. They both have 3.5mm headphone jacks. I mean, I can show you what the front end looks like on the Switch. I don't really like it because you can only see a certain number of games. Whether you can change this, I don't know. But you can just, you go across, you click into them. It's all very pretty, very colourful, very Nintendo. You've got Nintendo Online, which I think is £30 a year. And that gives you access to a selected library of games from Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, SNES, NES, all the old systems, but it's not everything that you want. The game you want might not be on there, for example. With this, the front end is customizable. I've got the Digisho front end. You can put on this whatever you can download, whatever you can configure. Now, the other thing is about plug and play, as I say. This, you put a cartridge in and you play. This, you have to source a ROM, put it on here, tinker with the settings for the native resolution. If the speed's not right, you can track it on some emulators in the corner. It tells you what the frame rate is and the game speed. It's more advanced from a level of tinkering and knowing what you're doing. The easiest way to describe it, the Switch Lite is like iPhone. It's easy, pick up and play. You don't need any real knowledge to use it. This is like an Android, because it is an Android. So that makes sense. I hope you know what I mean. I'm an iPhone user, so I have an affinity to things that are easy. The other thing as well is with the Retroid Pocket 5, the reason that the D-pad is on top, as far as I'm aware, is because it's more for retro gaming, i.e. games before a joystick came out. But the whole point of this is that it can emulate GameCube, it can emulate N64, PS2, flawlessly, all of which heavily rely on the joystick. So as an excuse, that doesn't really cut it for me. From a gaming experience, I'll be honest, I kind of prefer the feel of the Switch Lite. Whether that comes down to the fact that both devices are paid for, but all the games on the Switch Lite are paid for, and my experience is you're more likely to play something you've paid for longer than if you have 1,000 ROMs that you haven't paid for. That's my opinion, it's my preference. Sometimes you suffer from choice paralysis with the Retroid Pocket 5. There's too much to choose from, and because everything's free, you might only play it for 10 minutes and think, I'll play something else. If you buy a game, and Switch games are not getting any cheaper, you're going to play it for longer. Out of experience, I played Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, completed it, even though I wasn't enjoying it towards the end. But I thought, I've paid 40 quid for this. I'm going to finish it. The quicker I finish it, the quicker I can sell it and get more for it because it had only just come out. So gaming experience, and from a holding it and a comfort experience, definitely the Switch Lite. Now you can get a Switch Lite that is modded, hardware modded, off certain websites, so I'm told. And with those, you can basically turn this into its own emulator for any device. But again, I don't know how well it would hold up with doing stuff like PS2, PSP. Can't get PS Vita to work on this yet. It's quite a fiddly emulator. I don't think it's a power thing. I think it's an emulator problem with 3K Vita or whatever it's called. So you can get certain versions of this. This is a legit version, and I'm only talking about this from a legit perspective. Yeah, I hope you're listening, Nintendo. As far as the library goes, the Switch Lite, you've got to remember this is a handheld version of a docked console that you can also play handheld. So the games, in theory, are maybe meant for a bigger screen. Doesn't mean it doesn't translate to the Switch Lite, but sometimes with games I've heard like Hogwarts Legacy, Red Dead Redemption, the port of that, run into some issues on the Switch Lite, so I'm told. My other issue with the library is that most of the games, I say most, hell of a lot of the games are either remakes, ports, or modernizations of old games that have already come out. Another version of a game that's already out in the series, like Mario Kart 8. You know, they'll bring out a new Luigi game or a Captain Toad game or a new Kirby game. A lot of it feels updated on an old classic rather than brand new as an idea, which, to be fair, they know what they're doing, don't they? Whereas with this, pretty much, unless you're going to emulate stuff like the Switch, all the games have already come out for it. So the library is far more extensive and varied because you've got that many different consoles. But if you're looking at this, you can only play Switch games or the older games on Nintendo Online. For this one, pretty much play whatever you want, comfortably. When it comes to how long it takes to boot up into a game, I mean, let's do an experiment. So we've turned them on. You have to hit the home button 3 times there. You just swipe up on there. I'm already set on my system here. Let's go library, Metal Gear Solid. They're both touch screens, by the way. Disc 1, and I can do hotkey, load state. I'm in. Yeah? This one, I think I've got Metal Gear Solid in there. I've been playing Metal Gear on here. So I'm already in here because I've got a load state and they're just brilliant. So while I'm playing on here, dreading the staircase level that I just can't seem to get past, I'm going to use stun grenades on it. This is still loading, so there's no load states here. You can bypass all the BIOS and stuff on the Retroid Pocket. You can't on Nintendo. Main screen. Game selection. Metal Gear. English. Start game. We're still not in. I could have got to the top of the stairs by now. Snake's just chilling. Watching all the BIOS come through. Might as well pick up these while I'm here. FAMAS bullets. So what I can do as well, before I go through here, on the Switch, on the Retroid Pocket Lite, hold my hotkey, press R1, and it saves my state. So next time I load it up, it'll take me straight to there. Load game, load game. So, long story short, when you know what you're doing, the Retroid Pocket 5 is much easier to get into and much quicker. To exit the game on the Retroid Pocket 5, see how quick that takes. So back, we're in RetroArch here. Back, down, close content, down, quit, done. With this one, you would go quit game, end game, or you could do end game there, or you could just press home screen, and it still says you're playing, but if you press X, close software, it is pretty simple. So it's home, X, A on the Switch Lite. So technically, it's quicker to get out of a game on the Switch Lite. But when it comes to the game's performance and you want to tinker with that, with the Switch Lite, you get what you're given. You can't affect anything. On the Retroid Pocket 5, you can add HD texture packs. You can force it to be widescreen. If it's 4:3, 16:9, you can force it to. You can do 3 times native resolution, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times if it's capable, and if it looks all right. So there's a lot more tinkering you can do on this, but again, the caveat, you need more experience in the field to know what you're doing, or read a guide. But you don't want to spend all your time reading guides. You want to play games, right? Well, it's a delicate balance. Do what works for you. Both of these games, they're similar in size. If we get the old tape measure out, they've both got cases on 8 inches versus what, almost 8.5 inches. So minimal in difference. Thickness, let's just measure the thickness of this. You're talking about 1 inch there. With this one, 1 inch, same depth. So they're both very portable. Make sure you put them in a case, really. You don't want to affect your joysticks, especially on the Switch Lite. So portability is fine. They've both got the headphone jack, so you can play these if you're out and about in a waiting room or on a train without bothering the other passengers. The battery life on the Switch, apparently, it says it lasts between 3 and 7 hours. I'll have to take the word from it. I haven't run it down. This one seems to hold charge more when they're both powered off. This seems to hold charge more, the Retroid Pocket 5, when it's just off in the cupboard. Whereas I turned this on earlier and I haven't used it for a couple of weeks and it was dead. So I had to charge it from 0. When you're playing it, I find on the Switch Lite it does go down pretty quick, especially if it's a more intense game. Echoes of Wisdom isn't that intense, but it did drain the battery pretty rapidly. You might get only 1 or 2 1 hour and a half gaming sessions out of it from my experience. So yeah, 3 hours sounds about right with constant use. With this one, it's 87%, and I took this on a train to London over the weekend. Probably only played it for 1 hour and a half max, but still, it's not come down. Barely more than 10%. Battery life on this is far better, in my opinion. One thing I want to cover, but I can't really comment on from personal experience, is online play. With Switch, you've got Nintendo Online, so you can play online for the games that it's, compatible with. For this one, I'm sure you can, and there's probably dedicated apps and stuff that you can do that with, but again, it requires more tinkering. I'm an offline gamer anyway. I don't have any friends, so I just play it offline. Typically story games, so it doesn't affect me. You can do it on both, as far as I understand, but it's a lot easier on the Switch Lite. As far as price is concerned, I think I paid about $200 for this, last September, for this Hyrule edition. The fact that it's 200 quid and it's been out for so long is a bit of a joke. This is $219 exchange rate. I don't know what that is, maybe 180 in pounds. But if you pay for all the peripherals like Muggins here, it's going to cost you a lot more. So they are similar in price. The Switch is probably a little bit more after conversion, but with that you're getting something official with a warranty. Don't know what the warranty is on this, but I don't fancy sending it back to China, so I'm not really interested in that. Ultimately, the choice is yours. If you have the surplus funds, having both is a good thing, because you can still play the Switch Lite with the official Switch games and the new Switch games, but with this one, the cost is done when you buy the console. You want a new game for this, you're paying minimum 40 quid generally for a new game. Even the second-hand market on Switch games is ridiculous, even on places like Vinted. With this one, if you can source a ROM, download it, you're laughing. So what I want to know is, if you had the choice and the available funds for just one of these, which one would you pick? Do you have one or the other? Do you have both? These are the only 2 similar ones I have. I don't have an Anbernic 406H to compare it to. I don't have an Odin 2 to compare it to. I can only compare what I've got. Maybe you've got something different. Maybe you've got a Neo or a Trim UI. Let me know. Let me know what you've got, what your preference would be and why. And let me know what videos you'd like to see in the future, while liking, subscribing, sharing and commenting. I do enjoy hearing from you. I've been Stu the Yorkshire Retro Gamer. I'll see you in another video. Cheerio.